Just tell me when. Cool. Yep. All right. So for the facial massage part, so we've done the cleanse, we've done the exfoliation, and now we're doing the facial massage. So bringing one hand onto one side and just taking it over to the other side, just nice and lightly around the neck, and then just doing some nice circular movements. Nice circular movements around. Okay, and then around the chin. So you can do a little thumb walk, thumb on top of thumb. Especially around the TMJ, up at the top of the jaw. Or just back and forth. Right, and so similar moves to kind of what we've done, using the thumb above and below the lips. And then it's nice to do this around the corners of the lips. Little finger walk. And again, nice circles. Nice circles, and just be aware that this TMJ, which is around the top of the jaw, can hold a lot of tension. So just some nice gentle circles. It might be quite sensitive for some people if you do too deep in there. Just nice circles, get a sense of it. And again, the thumbs under the eyes, really good. And then taking the fingers from above the eyes. And getting in under the jaw is really nice, a little pressure. So again, fingers, pause, 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 and coming back up towards the temple. And do that again, 2, 3, back up to the jaw and the temple, and then moving up to the eyes, a little pressure, a little, so fingers are coming up by the nose, pressing underneath the eye socket. And a little pressure from above with the thumbs and the skin. And then we're getting underneath the eye socket, squeeze, squeeze, out to the temples. And again, one finger, one finger. So that's another thing, is moving, so I'm keeping the connection with one hand as I move the other finger, and then I move. Pressure, 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 pressure. One moves, then the other. So keeping that nice connection. Back to the temple, and then finally at the forehead. So we'll do some nice finger walks away from the nose, releasing through those frown lines where we frown in the crown. And then here, depending on how much space you have on the forehead, you might use one finger or you might use 2 fingers. You're going to do these C's, C shapes. Or if it gets a little bit thin, I'm going to use 1 finger. You might have somebody that has a very broad forehead where you use 3 fingers. So you just have to adapt everything to your body and the person on the table. And you can do that about twice as nice. Both sides. If you're doing an express facial and you feel you have the time to add in a little massage, you can always add in a little massage, even if it's just a couple of minutes. Especially if somebody was very dry, and it's nice to get some nice oil into the skin. But it's not necessary in an express facial. Okay, so I'm going to go around the face, more fluid. So finding that way around the face, all the way back again and again. Okay, and then if we have extra oil, and again it depends on the person, if you find like there's a bit of extra oil, we want to take off that extra oil. So I'm going to use a tissue, make a little hole for the nose, and then put any extra oil that we may not want to have on there. Okay, so I'm going to do the mud mask, the clay mask. So I did the massage before, I'm doing it before the clay mask. However, you can do it in between. If you're doing two masks, in between the clay and the more nourishing mask, so again, it depends. Even on the hour facial that I do, sometimes I do two masks, sometimes I only do one mask. It really depends what's going on for the person and what I end up spending more time on. So you'll always be able to adapt things. Always always make it relevant, of course, for your client and what's going on. Depends how you set yourself up, but some people, it's really about relaxation. Some people, it's because they've got specific things going on with their skin. I know here for us, sometimes people book a facial because, it's real. They enjoy it more than they do a massage. For some people, maybe they've had massages that were a bit uncomfortable. But especially for you, Misha, you're quite Pacific with the skin, so you'll probably be attracting people with Pacific, potentially anyways, that have maybe Pacific things going on with their skin. Is that what you're kind of looking to?
Yes and no.
Yeah.
Be good to have a good combination.
Yeah, exactly. But personally, I'm not somebody who loves getting blackheads out and doing all that kind of jazz. I don't mind a little bit, but I've had a therapist and she loves it. So when those clients walk in the door, I'm like, okay, you can, this is your client. So it is finding, what you really do enjoy. Yeah. So we've got some nice cucumbers with a little slit in them to drop over the eyes. A little half to go on the bottom of the eye as well. Put my tissue over and my little eye pillow on top. See if you can get your sandbag, make sure it's even over both eyes as best you can. Okay, so when you have the mask on, you have some choices. So again, this may be chatting to your client earlier. What would they prefer, especially if it was a half hour, It's like, would you prefer when the mask is on for me to do your arms, your neck and shoulders, or your scalp, or a mixture of maybe a couple of those, you know, so you can have that chat with them beforehand. You could explain that the mask will be on for 10 minutes, and so if you have a preference, we can do that. Because I'm going to do 2 masks, I can actually cover quite a bit. So for this one mask, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the arms, and then on the second mask I'm going to come back and do the neck and the scalp. Okay, so I think we'll stick with the cream today. Go over here. So just lifting your drape off, taking the arm out. Make sure your person is nice and covered. If you find that the cream, you want it to go a bit further, sometimes I do actually mix oil in with it so that I can, you know, utilize it more and get more of an opportunity for a massage. So just want to cover that arm. And if you have extra, you can always bring it up under the neck, because we'll be doing that a little bit later, or over the décolletage as well, which is nice to include the neck. And it's actually nice to get the neck from this angle as well. If you just use the cream, what often happens is that the body soaks it up, you know, and it disappears pretty quickly, which is fine if you just, you know, if you're just applying cream. But if you actually want to do a little massage, you need a little bit more than that. So that's where it's good to add in the oil. So we're going to take the wrist for the massage part and take it with our outside arm and externally rotate our client's arm to get into the inner arm. And so we have our biceps. So we're circling around the biceps, and then we take the hand inward. So internally rotate our client's hand as we go to the outer muscles, which is the deltoid at the top of the arm and the triceps. And especially if you have somebody with that repetitive strain, carpal tunnel, you know, you might find that as you come down to the elbow, there might be a bit of tension, and especially through the forearm. So we're going to do some lines through the forearm. And you may find, you know, that your client is surprised by just how tense it feels in there sometimes. And you might, you know, you might go a little deeper with it. So 1, 2, and 3. After I take this side, actually, and through there. If you notice that your client's face, you know, or just the kind of, you can just see that they felt something, you can just ask them to take a breath. If it was a little bit, and just hold it even. And then we'll also do the inside as well. But generally it's all going to feel very nice. Okay, and then we'll do a little bit around the wrist and then around the hand. And the hands are always yummy. So around the pad of the thumb, it's really good. The palm, the heel of the palm, especially in through there, and that's where often the carpal tunnel, the repetitive strain, the tendons have to get cut. So yeah, it's really nice to help that area release. And then out through the top of the palm, up towards the fingers. Yeah. If you did happen to have somebody with a bigger hand and you felt like the skin was very hard, you know, and you weren't doing, your fingers weren't doing a lot, you can always get your fist in there. Just give a little twist with the fist. I mean, with facials, you don't tend to generally do this. But you know, it's just good to know that you can. Okay, and then the outside. So we've got our bones here. See the knuckles and the bones? So you're going in between those bones. It's like a little valley. And you just kind of imagine you're just draining through them towards the fingers. And then once you take it out into the hand, we can do some nice circles around the knuckles. So just nice circles, and just we're talking about the arthritis and things like that. To do some nice circles, come down the thumb, and then give it a little, I like to give it a little pull and give it a little squeeze, and all the way up to the top. And then the next one. And it's bringing your presence and your caring, your attentiveness to these areas. So I could be doing it and I'm just, you know, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be bad to look out the window or anything, but you know, if I was in my head thinking about my next client or what am I going to have for lunch, you know, not that, of course there's going to be a bit of that, but you know, it can be felt, the difference, when we're not present in the room. Because it rather than it turning, we can feel when somebody's attentive and caring compared to just doing it, just going through the motions. It's a very different experience, and I would say it's the difference that really sticks with somebody. That's, you know, somebody, they may not be able to put their finger on it, so to speak, pardon the pun, but they're like, wow, that was amazing. That was amazing. I feel so nurtured. And again, back to our own journey, you know, when we self-care and self-love ourselves and, you know, connect that way, you know, we just want other people to feel that goodness as well. And that tenderness. Yeah, which we haven't always received or know how to receive. Okay, and then pop it down. And then, yeah, it's really nice to do a little feathering on the arms, just nice and pampering again and nurturing. If for any reason you put too much cream or too much oil on the arm, you just pop your drape over. I mean, it's nice to finish this way anyways, but you can do extra kind of hands on the arm, take off any extra. You definitely don't want to leave somebody with too oily or too much going on their arm and their hand. But it is lovely to have the creams and the smells afterwards. Okay, so I put one hand on one shoulder and then the other hand, and that's how I'm making my way over. So they know where I am by that touch. So I know that I've got it well spread, so it's always good to, well worth to make sure that it's well spread. If you have to get more, you have to get more. It's not really a big deal. Okay, so remember your stance, how you're standing as well. It's the whole idea with the yoga to become more self-aware of our posture. And if you can get your body behind it, even though it's just a little movement, but again, if you're standing here doing this, you're going to be giving yourself repetitive strain. But if you can get down here, get yourself into a nice little warrior stance and kind of get your own body behind it. Yeah. It'll be a lot kinder on your own body. Okay, and then on the outside again, deltoid up the top and the triceps. Good, and then down through the forearm. 1, 2, 3, and 3 as a general kind of technique, but then as I said, you know, you may find that yes, somebody's got some tension, so you might just hang out there a little bit longer, go a little bit deeper or not, and then to the inside. And you'll start to flow into your own little moves with that as well. Okay, little circles around the wrist, back into the palm. And in between the bones, that little valley, draining up through the fingers and then around the knuckles. And when you do the knuckles, just think of blood flow and circulation into those knuckles. So as one hand is kind of holding, stabilizing, while the other is doing more of the movement. Okay, we got a hand, we'll do a feathery touch. Down through the arm and drape over, and just a little pressure, and then you can finish with one arm on the shoulder, one on the hand. Okay, and now we're ready to take off that mask. So I'll grab my hot towel, turn my heat back on. So, as I said before, you can take the eye pillow off. I'm going to take it off as I'm putting the towel on this time, but you may want to take it off beforehand. So I'm putting the towel over so that it covers the light. But yeah, it's probably easier to do. What I often do is actually take the eye pillow and the tissue off, and then I take the cucumber off as I'm putting the facial towel on. So remember the two holes, one on the chin, forehead, and then one on the cheeks, forehead. And you can do a little pressing, especially with this clay mask, because you want the heat of the towel to actually take that clay off. So this towel is cooling down already. It's probably needed a bit hotter than this. And then using different parts of the towel to get the mask off. And just do your best with it. If you don't get it all off, we're definitely going to go back over with the sponge. So yeah, I'm just doing a little curly whirlies on the end of the towel, and then I'm using the other one to just collect any more around the chin. Okay, so we'll finish with our sponges. Get anything else off. Sometimes do have to stand up and have a little look, see if there's anything left on the chin, under the nose. And back to the temples, and a little pressure and release. Okay. Right, so as I said earlier, we did do the massage already, but again, it's a choice. Even though I did the massage earlier, actually often, especially when I'm doing two masks, which I'm going to do, I would actually do the massage after the clay mask, and then do the arm massage, and then do the other mask. Unless it was an express facial and I wanted to add a little massage, then that would go before the clay mask. Okay, so we've got more honey. Most thing is if, you know, if you do something and it's not, you know, you've forgotten something, you do something, you improvise. It's all part of the dance. Okay, so I'll put some on my, so popping it on my hand, and then I'm going to paint it off from there. And yeah, in regard to painting it on, I'm sure if you go online and YouTube it, I'm sure you'll probably find videos that will talk different ways that you can paint on the mask. But it's quite fun. Okay, so I used the cucumbers the last mask, so I'm going to use the iPads for this one. I'm not going to bother using the cucumber again, but you could, or you could get new cucumbers. I just find that they're a bit warm, and so yeah. So I'm going to wet my pads. I'm going to squeeze the water out. So then I've just got something to put over the eyes. Give them a little half. It's nice and relaxing. Takes the light out, but it's also just kind of relaxing with the heaviness of the pads over the eyes. So you might feel that that's enough, or again, you grab your tissue and put the eye pillow on there. Right. So I'm going to open up this little face band, and I'll get my cream again, my hand and body cream, and a little bit of oil to go in it as well, as I do around the shoulders and the neck, and then move into the scalp. So yeah, always a good idea to ask your client if they have any issue with oil in the hair, especially facials. People they may have washed their hair, they don't particularly want oil in the hair. So I do tend to try to do my best to wash my hands, or make sure that I don't really have oil and stuff on my hands by the time I get to the hair. Again, because in Hamner, people don't really mind, so it's not really a big deal. But it's definitely something to consider. Yes, I'm just spreading the cream and the oil around and in underneath the shoulders. I'm just doing a little massaging. You know, again, it depends on your client. They might not be expecting a lot of massage, but it's a bit like the hairdresser. You know how nice the extra massages. It's a bit like that in facial. People don't necessarily expect to have a really nice neck shoulder massage, but when you add it in, it's like, oh, so good. So I'm aware of where the spine is. So the most things you have to be aware of when you do massage is the spine, so you know where the bony part is, and the scapula bones. And then you're really just massaging the muscles in between those. And you can just put your fingers up and just drag along into the traps. Or when I'm going around the neck, I'm just like doing these circular movements, especially around the seventh cervical, because often that's where a lot of people hold a lot of tension. And I might even just get my fingers either side of the spine and pull up. So kind of either side of the spine and pulling up. And then if I want to get to the side of the neck, just put my hand on the face mask, tilting the head over to one side. Or if you found that your client was hesitant to tilt the head, you can just ask your client, okay, so if you just tilt your head now over to the left, I'm going to do a little massage on the neck. Yeah, so we've got our muscle here, our sternocleidomastoid muscle, from behind the ear down to the clavicle. So you just kind of drop in behind that and do some nice circles. And then you can do across the décolletage, under the shoulder, and pull back up. Kind of like a half effleurage. Across the décolletage, round the shoulder, and back up under the trapezius. And again, it depends on your client. Some people can feel quite a lot of tightness, so always be aware of the breath. If they hold their breath, they're feeling some tightness or some apprehension of where your hand is going. So you just remind them to take a nice deep breath. Just breathing into that area. Or you might even say breathe into that tension spot. Yeah, and then it's nice when the head is over to the side because you can bring it up the neck. So you don't have to go all the way up the hair, especially if you're conscientious of not getting oil and stuff in the hair. So I just bring it under the neck and then ask my client tilt it over to the other side, over as far as you can go. Yeah, lovely. Okay, same idea. So I'm looking for this muscle, the SCM, sternocleidomastoid, and I'm getting in under behind it, which you drop down into the scalene muscles that can hold a little tightness in the neck. And then we do some nice circles in through here. And then once you've done that a few times, you can come over the décolletage, around the shoulder, and you feel the bony part behind. That's the clavicle, and then you can pull up once you go past it under the traps and back up the neck. And you do that again. You can go for different parts. So now I can feel the clavicle, the bony part, and I'm just dropping inside of it towards the spine. So I'm going to ask my client, take a nice deep breath. Yeah, just go a little deeper into this muscle around the shoulder. Beautiful. And once you ask your client to take one breath, they usually kind of get an idea what you're doing, so they may just breathe into it the next time. But again, you just keep an eye on the abdomen, just make sure that there is some breath happening. And if it seems shallow or shortened, just remind the client to take a breath. You can do some nice circles back up on the neck, and under the skull is really, really nice from this particular angle. Okay, so we'll take it back to the center. So I'm just going to pretend that my client has told me that she doesn't want any oil or anything in her hair. So I'm going to come, wash my hands, make sure that I don't have anything on. Not oily. You may find some people don't want you to do the head because they don't want, they just don't want their hair. And then, yeah, you take down the hair, so know that that's okay. So getting used to taking down the hair. Sometimes people will offer to take it down for you, but ideally, especially at this stage, you don't want the client having to do that because you want them to be so relaxed. But then you may agree at the beginning that they take their hair down if you like. Okay, so we're going to do our nice massage, just like what we did yesterday, which is those circles. So we're looking to move the scalp underneath the fingers. And just take it nice and slowly. So I'm doing both sides together here. So I'm just going to work with the part of the head that I have available to me. And so the experience that you want for your client is really quite a timeless experience. So if you go faster, they'll feel, they'll feel that sense of time and speedy and moving through. But when we slow down, they slow down. Now, the other side of it is that they get so relaxed that we get so relaxed. But again, that comes back to how interconnected and how much we influence one another. Okay, so now I'm going to tilt the head over again so that I can get into the hair. Okay, so I see an extra clip here, so I'm just going to pop it out. I'm just doing those circles and just making sure that I'm covering all the head, just like what you did yesterday. Just taking my time to really make sure that I'm covering all the areas. And sometimes I like to give a little tug of the hair underneath here while I'm here before I turn the head again. You don't want to be turning the head back and forth too much. Just a little tug, and then we're going to tilt over to the other side. And the same idea, just nice circles. Okay, once you've done that, you feel pretty good about it. Just giving a few little hair pulls. So the idea is that you're creating movement in the scalp, circulation through the follicles, as well as giving a lovely, relaxing, beautiful head massage. Okay, and then we'll take it back. Okay, so we've done it that way, which is fine, but another way, if you didn't want to move the head, is you can, I don't want to get all of my hands, but I'm going to go put my hands in under the skull, and I'm just going to do some nice circles at the same time, which is really yummy. Just to get under, and you can do a little tilt. So I'm going to ask you to take a nice deep breath, breathe in, and I'm going to start to kind of tilt her head towards the ceiling so I can drop in underneath the skull. Yeah, that's it again. And then I'm going to do a little pull on the exhale. So again, inhale, and then exhale, a little pull, and lengthening through the neck. One more, inhale, and a little pull. And then I continue on with those circles. Circles. So again, that's optional. Or if you have the time, you may do all of what I've shown you. Or you may choose to take the hand to the side, head to the other side, or not to. Especially if you had somebody with a neck injury or something, you're not necessarily, maybe you don't want to take it to the side, or maybe one side, but not the other side. So everything, you're always considering what's actually going on for the person. That's why often I know more about a person's body and I have trouble with their name because I'm always scanning, what's going on in the physical and how do I support them in the best way. Good. So another one that we didn't do yesterday, it's the C's we were doing with the fingers on the forehead, but now we're going to take it down to the head. So it's these C movements. but I'm moving down with it. So I'm going to do a line down through the middle. And then one over to the side. And then over to the other side. And then you can come back to the middle again. Good. And then we'll do one more for today. So those 3 movements, the most I've showed you, even though I've showed you different ways, but it's the circular ones, it's the C's, and then we did a little bit of hair pulling on the side. So actually that's a good one to do as well, if you can get the hair. Again, these are optional. For some people it might be a bit tricky to get the hair, or they don't have hair. So that's even extra tricky. So we can do a little hair pull. So just take a nice deep breath. And you might ask the person to breathe, you might not, it depends. If you're going a little bit more intense with the pull, you ask them to breathe. But if you're not, you don't have to. If you're just doing a little tug, you can just put your hand there, give a little tug. But if I want to go a little stronger, I get you to take a nice deep breath. And I'm just going to go tug a little bit more than I would without that breath. Because when she's breathing, it means she's not resisting. So she can go with it. And actually, it's not as intense as well. So it's actually very doable. Yeah. Okay. And another one, which is just really nurturing and really pampering, is just getting little bits of the hair and just doing nice little circles. So it's kind of like the hair pulls as well, but just little hair pulls. And sometimes actually even in shorter hair. This is a nice way to do it with shorter hair. But you can do it with long hair as well. But again, it's just, yeah. How often in life do we get that?
I don't know.
And you can just do little walks with the fingers, little walks with the fingers. And maybe while I'm at it as well, I'll add in this one as well, which is just a nice shampooing movement. So I like to just take one hand across. It's that shampooing movement. And then the other hand over the other side. And then just nice soothing movements. And there, we're good. So we put our little headband back on again. Good. And so this mask has pretty much been soaked up by the skin. There's not a lot left. So I'm just going to help it. Leave the little eye pads on, but I'll take the eye pillow off so that I can actually get in to a bit more of the cream. Some of the tissue, it's kind of got stuck a little bit. That's okay, you just take it off. Yeah, so most of that is actually soaked up really nicely. And then bring my hands in as I take off those little eye pads. And it depends the light in your room. If you're working in a dark room, you know, of course you don't need to do too much of this. But I'm very aware of the light and how intense it can be when you go directly from dark to light. So it just takes a few seconds and I take my hands away. Okay, so we got my sponges. Yeah, so you may have to go out and leave the room and get clean water, but because I've got my rice cooker, that gives me another option for water. Of course, if you have a sink in the room, then that's great. But if you don't, it's all workable. Good, back to the temple and release. And we'll do our toner definitely here as well. So take a nice deep breath. nice, soothing, balancing pH toner. And then I'll do a little eye cream. Put that onto my index finger. A little dab, dab, dab. And then do some nice circles. And if you have a little bit extra on, take it over the eyes. Now you may want to, before the eye cream actually, is to do like a skin serum. So that's a little extra. So I have a little Antipodes skin serum here. So I'm going to add that in. Skin plumping. Again, it depends on the skin. You may not do this for all skin types, especially younger skin. But for more aging skin, dehydrated skin, you can need a little help. So, and you just pat that on. So yeah, put the eye cream on, but yeah, normally I'd put this on. Actually, I prefer to put it on before the eye cream. And even a little dance with the fingers to help that along. And then finally, moisturizer. So we'll use the other side of our little spatula stick to take the moisturizer out for health and safety. And again, you can do the dab. So it depends if you want to include really the moisturizers for the neck. You could put a little bit on the décolletage, a little bit on the cheek, forehead, and then we can go back and rub it in. Usually at this stage there's already oil and everything on the décolletage, so I don't actually usually just do the neck and the face for the moisturizer. So the dabbing is good to make sure that you spread the cream over the face, but once you get used to it, you'll be able to do that yourself. You'll just know how to, not waste, or not waste, but you'll just know how to keep it on your hands enough that you can actually bring it all the way up to the forehead. Yeah, so neck, chin, around the nose, eyes, back up, and the forehead. So just finding your own way of getting around the face. So fingers there, and then I drag them up. So I'm keeping as connected as I can. And then I can just do a few at the end, little fingers. You don't want to do too much with the moisturizer because it can get a bit greasy. So it's just enough that it's in. And then take off this. And then just do some nice soothing strokes. Nice soothing strokes. And just like I showed you yesterday, you can come down over the forehead. Nice soothing stroke over the nose and the cheeks. And the chin, all the way up to the ear even. Back up again. And finish on the crown. So I'll invite you to take a nice deep breath to finish with. Put the hands on the shoulders, and okay, we are complete.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And then you can just explain to your client what you're going to do. Okay, so if you just want to rest there for a couple of minutes, I'm just going to clean up my products a little bit, and then I'm going to leave the room, and I can bring you a glass of water down to the room, or you can meet me in the lounge. What would you prefer?
I'll meet you in the lounge.
Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. You've been a wonderful client.
Thank you so much. That was lovely.
You're welcome. Okay, this is the close of our video. Vitality Facial. Leave your questions and comments underneath the video.